Hello there everybody, you're the audience. My name is Supersonic Blur and welcome back to the next episode of Professor Layton vs Phoenix Wright. Last time, our doughy defender started trying to defend Espella Cantabella and since then has pretty much found themselves in need of a bit of assistance. So it's the yeast that Professor Layton can do is to offer some help and brought the Grand Grimoire over to try and help out a little bit. And now we're at the point we need to point out that contradiction.
Hold it!
1 second, Your Honor. The defense requests permission to have another look at the court illustration. I think that there might be a contradiction in there.
Objection!
You are already out of time. All testimony and evidence given thus far has been proven to be accurate.
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure, Inquisitor Barnum. There's just one thing that you've overlooked. A piece of evidence within this book. The Grand Grimoire? Absurd. I overlooked something. You are the defender here. You should have examined the tome earlier. You're right, I should have. But unfortunately, I was nothing but a simple baker until just now. Interesting. You've certainly begun to show your true colors, Sir Blue Knight. Let us see what type of knight you truly are. Have at you! The defender will now show us this supposed contradiction. The court illustration and the Grand Grimoire. Somewhere there's a contradiction between these two, and I've got to find it. This is my last chance. Defender, use this magnifying glass to locate the point of relevance. Then reveal to the court the location of this contradiction. Yes. The answer is, if we have a look back over at the Grand Grimoire, you require an incantation and scepter to cast. Well, there is no scepter in her hand, as you can see right there.
Got it!
The contradiction is right here. The hand of the accused seems to be holding a lantern. What is your point? According to this tome, using the spell Ignaze requires the use of the witch's scepter, as well as an incantation. Isn't that right? Correct. For witches to use magic, they must be in possession of a witch's scepter, also known as a talia magica. If that's the case, then there is one thing that doesn't add up. Take another look at Miss Cantabella's hands. Tell me, do you see the witch's scepter in either of her hands? Yes. Oh, I love this. There we go. Let's see you point that sword at me now. You did it, Mr. Wright! But wasn't that contradiction just a little too obvious? You may be right, Luke. It would certainly appear that the good Inquisitor is taking this particular oversight rather too well. That is correct, Sir Apprentice Baker. But you should not underestimate me. This is perhaps your first time seeing this item, is it not? Right here is the very scepter you mention. One of the witnesses found it tossed aside in the shrubbery on the path. Ah, yes! Indeed, that was I! I located it! My feet found themselves ensnared in the blasted thing, and it sent me flying through the air. Why were you in the shrubbery? Somehow, I'm not surprised to hear that you fell, Gramps. This scepter does seem to carry a most sinister air. Indeed, my lord. However, this scepter will only work while in the hands of a witch, with the incantation being said aloud. Aww, that's too bad. I wanted to try lighting some stuff on fire. Please don't look at me when you say that. You see, there are 2 magical gems set in this scepter. Magic gems? Looks like a red gem and a white gem. These gems each contain a particular magic spell. By simply looking at these magic gems, one can easily determine which magic spell can be used. Nick, quick, look at this page! Yeah? Is that the red magic gem? Indeed, the red gem you see here is the spell Ignaze, and if you look carefully, you should notice that this scepter also has one more spell that can be used. One more spell. That must be the white gem. Mr. Wright, I think I've found it! Here's the spell for the white magical gem! Dimir causes anything the caster touches to vanish from sight. Simply chant Amir to reappear. Causes anything the caster touches to vanish from sight. I see you managed to work it out in that crusty head of yours. That's just... No, it can't be! The reason the witch's scepter couldn't be seen is because the magic spell Dimir had made it disappear? That's right. In other words... The accused conjured a cowardly spell to camouflage her own use of magic. No. No way! Order! 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 Inquisitor Barnum, please submit the scepter into evidence. Hold on, please. Is there a problem, Sir Baker? Okay, I understand this is a witch's scepter. However, whether or not the scepter was in Miss Cantabella's possession has not yet been proven. What are you talking about, Sir Apprentice Baker? Isn't it obvious? I'm talking about fingerprints. Supposing Miss Cantabella did in fact handle this witch's scepter, then her fingerprints should be on it. What's with the silence? You said fingerprints. Inquisitor Barnum, tell me, just what is this Baker blabbering about? I haven't the slightest clue, my lord. It is the Baker's first time in court after all. Huh? I'm afraid it's no use, Mr. Wright. In this world, it would seem the concept of fingerprinting does not yet exist. What? Oh, I can't believe this. As I have said already, you'd best head back to the bakery, lest you continue to serve this court more of your half-baked ideas. They're about as half-baked as your terrible puns, Barnum. Forensic science does not exist here. Instead, this is the world in which witches and magic are accepted as fact. Truly fascinating. Yeah, fascinating. Not great for our case, Phoenix. Uh-oh, Layton. What the heck? There are just way too many things that I don't understand about this world. Mr. Wright, I believe you may be able to take these things you don't know and use them to your advantage. Huh? The Inquisition believes there is no room for debate on this matter. The accused clearly attempted to conceal her magic. Better luck next time, Sir Apprentice Baker. Mayhaps your next loaf will not leave such a bitter taste in our mouths. Now then, my lord, I believe it is time. I ask that you render your unwavering verdict.
Objection.
Latent objection. I love it. Pardon the interruption. May I have a word, Inquisitor Barnum? What's this? Who might you be? My name is Herschel Layton. I am a friend of the accused. Inquisitor Barnum, please, allow me to confirm what you believe happened on the night of the crime. You claim the witch's scepter was made to disappear through the use of magic, is that correct? Indeed, through the magic spell Dimir. If possible, would you mind proving proof of this particular claim? What? You claim the scepter was not seen. Indeed, that is one possibility. However, a wise man must always consider every possibility. What say you, Inquisitor Barnum? Can the Inquisition fulfill the request presented by the gentleman with the unusual hat? The Inquisition cannot honor this request for proof. I love that. If you are asserting that the accused is not a witch, then the burden of proof lies at the feet of the defender. Burden of proof lies with the claimer. Yeah, pretty much. That is interesting at this point. The thing that I do like, though, is that Layton's like, okay then, well, can you prove that this happened? It's like, yeah, no one saw it. Okay. Can you prove that she was holding it whilst no one saw it? No, because no one saw it. It's circular logic, which unfortunately looped on itself, and that's all they went with. Come on! That's the Inquisitor's job to prove that a crime was committed. As I thought. Indeed, it would appear that the accepted method of thinking in this world differs greatly from our own. How regrettable, Sir Apprentice Baker. And you, Sir Dark Hat. Inquisitor Barnum, sir! Should you require it, I stand ready to lend my testimony! Would anyone care to purchase any pre-testimony flowers? I've got a lovely array of bewitching lilies. Snowy and I will not be dismissed so easily. We came here to expose the identity of this witch. Isn't that right, Precious? A witch's scepter, you say? Yes, I know of such a scepter. Allow me to elucidate on the matter. What do you think, Inquisitor Barnum? Your witnesses appear to have something to say on the subject. Very well. Most honourable witnesses, I grant you your request to testify once more. Tell the court all you know regarding this Talia Magica. Well, we've somehow managed to keep the trial going. I owe you one, Sir Dark Hat. Please, Mr. Wright. Mr. Layton will suffice for the time being. Wait, how did you... Don't worry, I can understand what you're thinking. I'm psychic, tee-hee. When I saw her, the witch was carrying a large milk bucket in one hand and a lantern in the other. The girl had the lantern hanging from her wrist. Her hand was contorted in a strange way. I got a good look at her hand, and it looked like for certain that she was gripping something. The witch was holding a scepter in her right hand. She did not drop it once before she was apprehended. Did she now? Interesting. I see. The accused's hand was contorted in a strange way. I do believe this is quite an important piece of testimony. I saw it. I most certainly saw it. She was holding an invisible scepter. We saw it too. That was the girl up there, without a doubt. I as well. These old eyes do not see as well as they once did, but I witnessed the hazy, blurry form of the accused quite clearly. Don't tell the court you're blind! My eyesight is as sharp as the edge of my trusty blade. Nightle, sweetie. A toy sword. How fascinating. Although I wonder if he understands the implications of that analogy on his vision. I love that. Sir Baker, you may proceed with your interrogation. Mr. Layton's giving me another chance. I can't let this go to waste. Stop calling him Mister! It's Professor! Alright. Well, there is one thing we can have a look at here. When I saw her, the witch was carrying... Yeah. We don't need to present anything. I just want to have a look at the evidence right now. What we can... Oh, where's the court illustration? Well, we can't actually see the court illustration. But one thing we know is that holding on to something like that whilst having something held. So I can kind of try and show it. I've got... We'll use... I've got a clef key and I just need like a pen. or I guess I've got a pencil that will do here. If we have a look. It won't be quite perfect, but it will do to sort of surmise the idea. I use fingers as well. So we'll say this is the lantern, and we'll say that these two fingers here are that. And you're then also holding this. So you're holding the bucket. Well, here's the problem. If you're holding the lantern, how are you supposed to drop the lantern if you're holding this? Unless you're saying that you held it like this, at which case then how would you even do that? That doesn't make any sense to contort your hand like that. If you're holding that, the only way you do it would be like that. Like across the hand with the loop there, which would never make it past that. So that, little thing to know. So if she never dropped it, why is it then that this is like that?
Objection.
There's a high probability that Miss Cantabella was not holding the scepter. But if, for the sake of argument, she had been holding it, she would undoubtedly have dropped it at the time of the incident. What do you mean? What I mean, Inquisitor Barnum, is that this lantern proves the defendant was not holding the scepter.
Objection.
What foolishness are you spouting, Sir Apprentice Baker? The lantern's handle was around the accused's wrist.
Objection.
Meaning she could have held the scepter? I'm afraid that's not the problem here, Inquisitor Barnum. The problem is with the broken glass and the mud plastered all over it. What? The rain had ended just as the murder was taking place. That would make the path fairly muddy, don't you agree? When the thieves grabbed Miss Cantabella by the arm, the lantern must have fallen into the mud. The lantern fell into the mud? Why, of course. That makes sense, doesn't it, my little snowy woey? Well, what do you say, Inquisitor Barnum? If she was holding the scepter at the time, that would mean that when she dropped the lantern, the scepter would have fallen along with it! What's going on? Inquisitor Barnum seems speechless. The defender's managed to turn the thing around, even though he's just some baker. No way. Pay the witch's accomplices no heed. They're just trying to trick you. What is this?
Hold it!
One moment, please. Huh? Everyone, please listen! Didn't we all just stand here and explain to the court what we clearly saw? It's just a lantern, so what? What's so special about it? Explain it to me so I can understand. So that you can understand? I mean, it's pretty obvious just by looking at it. Mr. Wright? What is it, Mr. Layton? That's Professor Layton to you, bitch. There is something about this witness. Miss Kira, was it? Please tell me, Miss Kira. How good is your eyesight, exactly? Huh? You just heard Mr. Wright explain. The answer to your query is quite obvious at a glance. Tell me, are you able to see the mud present on this lantern? Mud? What mud? What are you talking about? Your Honor, did you hear that just now? Ah, yes, indeed. Well, what does it mean, exactly? It means Miss Kira's poor eyesight is the reason she cannot see the mud present on this lantern. In other words, the validity of Miss Kira's testimony is questionable at best. And now we get the creepy suspenseful music. Order in the court. What is the meaning of this? What say you in your defense, witness? I highly recommend you give us nothing but the truth. I'm sorry, Inquisitor Barnum. It's true. I need to wear glasses. All the time, in fact. You need to wear glasses? Aha! Now that you mention it, I did notice something odd about you today.
Oh, I thought you looked familiar. Gone is the mist that clouded my mind. In its place, clarity.
Fair maiden, a pair of spectacles are as valuable as a shield to a knight. Make haste and procure another pair. Now then, Miss Kira, please tell me, at the time of the incident, were you wearing your glasses? I like as well how Phoenix says MS Kira and Phoenix says Miss Kira, so it's Ms. Kira. I like that little touch. No, I was not wearing them. The truth is, I lost my glasses a couple of days ago. You lost them? So, her glasses were missing during the time of the incident. Mr. Wright, might I recommend that you keep note of this fact? It could prove useful later. Got it. Alright. Am I to believe there is nothing left to prove on this matter? At the time of the murder, the accused did not have a witch's sceptre in her possession. No, she did not. Wait just a moment! Snowy and I have much more left to say. That's right! My trusty sword of justice shall cut through this witch's treacherous lies. I may have lost my glasses, but I haven't lost my will to testify.
Eureka! I remember it now! Old age has a way of sneaking up on me. I'm sure you must understand.
Yeah, I understand. You're all completely ridiculous! It would seem we have not yet arrived at the clear-cut verdict. Witnesses, you may once again begin to testify to the court. Tell us about the scepter and how it was used in the detestable display of witchcraft that you all witnessed tonight. The girl was not holding the scepter in the same hand as the lantern, which means... well, it must have been in her other hand. The accused is holding a milk bucket in the court illustration. Who's to say she wasn't holding the scepter in that hand? The milk bucket is lighter than it looks. Even Snowy could carry it, so she could have easily held the scepter as well.
I did not see this milk bucket. Everything felt like an illusion.
Great, okay. So Wordsmith didn't see the bucket at all? The scepter was in her other hand, you say? Indeed, such a proposal is feasible. Sir Baker? Yes, Your Honor. It is the strangest thing. The longer this trial goes on, the more you begin to resemble a legitimate defender. Huh? Well, no matter. Defender, you may begin your interrogation. Right. Okay. The girl was not holding the scepter in her hand. She must have held it in her other hand. At this point, they're just every time that this is the... Every time something possibly comes up, they're twisting what they think they saw into some new form to try and make it fit the situation. They are taking they are taking a result and bending everything else around it.
Hold it!
But did you actually see that with your own eyes? Alas, magic's vile embrace hid the scepter from my sight, so I did not see it per se. However, though my years of knightly training, I have learned to see through such cunning trickery. Is that so? For example, this morning I found myself unable to locate the whereabouts of my trusty blade. Its location was a mystery. So I tried my hardest to think and remember where I would have kept it last. And before long, behold, it transpired I was carrying my trusty blade in its scabbard all along. Life is riddled with such trickery. Would you say life is riddled with trickery, Nick? Only if we're talking about my life, Yeah. The accused is holding a milk bucket in the court illustration. Who's to say she wasn't holding the scepter in that hand?
Hold it!
The court illustration? Yeah. That's right. Judging by this sketch alone, it doesn't look possible for her to have held the scepter. However, if you actually try holding that thing, you'll notice just how thick it is. No way she could have been holding it.
Objection.
That is nothing more than mere speculation. You cannot say for certain that she was unable to hold it. You say speculation, I say it's a fact. There's just no way Isabella could have been holding that thing. As expected, this testimony is filled with nothing but assumptions and conjecture. Mr. Layton? You know, Mr. Wright, there does not appear to be any usable evidence present in the court illustration. Yeah, I agree. It does look that way. The milk bucket ended up disappearing from the scene. Could that actually be an important piece of evidence in itself?
That milk bucket is lighter than it looks. Even Snowy could carry it, so she could have easily held the scepter as well.
How do you know the weight of it? Just 1 second, Miss Mary.
What's this now? Snowy and I don't have all night, you know. Come on then, out with it.
I just have one question regarding your testimony. How exactly did you know that the bucket Miss Cantabella was carrying was light enough for Snowy to carry?
Huh? Well... You see, the girl always uses the same bucket whenever she comes to buy milk from us. Naturally, I would have seen that bucket countless times before.
You've seen it countless times before. That doesn't answer my question. You specifically said this bucket is lighter than it looks. Miss Mary, at some point tonight, you must have held that bucket yourself.
Oh!
Now then, please enlighten us as to exactly when you got your hands on the bucket.
Oh, well... It's true. By that time, Robs and mugs had already been burnt to ash. And then... I noticed the milk in that bucket, and the girl had been holding it in her hand.
The milk?
Then, when those two went up in a blaze, Snowy and I made a dash for the bucket. As the girl stood there looking confused, we took the milk from her to make sure it was okay.
Huh? Unbelievable. Witness, you...
Well, it was just so wasteful. The thought of all that disgusting ash falling in such precious milk. I felt I just had to protect the milk, so I took the bucket back to the farm with me.
Madam, do you mean to say that the court that you took evidence from a crime scene back home with you? That explains why we're unable to locate the milk bucket at the scene.
Oh my, you're scaring poor Snowy. Here, I brought the bucket with me anyway, see? I didn't even tamper with the milk.
I'm sure you didn't. The court shall accept this milk bucket as evidence, but look at that milk bucket. Something very interesting to note about it. Looks like that's one more piece of evidence for us. Now, will the gentleman with the impressive beard proceed with his testimony? I did not see this milk bucket. Everything felt as if it was an illusion. Mate.
Objection.
Here's the bucket. All of your testimonies have come to the same conclusion. The scepter was not in her right hand with the lantern. Therefore, it must have been on her other hand that was holding the bucket. However, that's not it. Not by a long shot. What do you mean? Contrary to what one of the witnesses stated, the milk bucket was in fact at the crime scene. And you'll also notice something about this bucket. Take another look at the court illustration. Something about the bucket seems a bit odd, wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Objection.
This illustration was based on eyewitness accounts, so a small discrepancy or two is conceivable.
Objection.
Actually, Inquisitor Barnum, it's highly likely that this illustration is much less accurate than you think. In fact, there is a blatant contradiction present in this illustration. Yep. Look at that. Admittedly, it does at first look possible that Miss Cantabella was holding the scepter and the bucket at the same time. However, if you look at the real milk bucket, that possibility goes up in smoke. Here, let's have a look at the real deal. Notice the handle?
That cannot be.
Oh, but it is. This particular milk bucket has 2 pieces of wood on either side of the handle. If you were to try and hold both the scepter and this bucket, well, let's just say that it'd be a challenge. To put it simply, there is no way anyone could hold both the bucket and the scepter at once.
That must mean clearly you have the wrong bucket.
We never lie when it comes to milk. That is the very bucket I took.
It looks like the witnesses are as surprised as about this as Barnum is. The defendant couldn't have been able to hold the bucket and the scepter at once. Also, we have already established that she was not holding a scepter in her right hand. Therefore, the defendant, Mrs. Speller Cantabella, was not holding a witch's scepter at any point during the incident. That is very true. Order! Order! I said order! Just what? What is the meaning of this? In all my days as a judge in this court, I have never heard such an argument. These are but a paltry set of words, and yet they ring with such remarkable strength. Your Honor, what you just heard was logic. Logic, you say? What is this with these two? They just silenced Inquisitor Barnum, with merely words. Such foolishness this is. This must be some type of witchcraft. Wait a minute. Do you think... could they be witches? It would seem that the concept of logic does not exist in this world.
Right, then let's take this chance to knock their case down a peg or two.
I'm worried if we keep this up, then we'll all be joining a speller in a one-way trip to the flames.
Objection!
Most intriguing. A knight allows his sword to speak for him during battle. You have spoken with a sword of words. So be it. I too shall wield such a blade. What do you mean? Sir Blue Knight, there appears to be a hole in this logic of yours. A hole? According to the earlier testimony, it was believed that the accused had the lantern hanging from her wrist by the handle. However, she supposedly dropped it, hence it being covered in mud. That's right. While that may be true, it does not necessarily mean that the accused was therefore unable to use magic. It is merely a question of when she dropped the witch's scepter. What do you mean, Inquisitor Barnum? It is very simple, my lord. The accused, while first holding the lantern and the witch's scepter, cast her magic. Then, she dropped both the lantern and the scepter. Ah! The witch's scepter was dropped after the spell was cast. Of course. Yes, that must be it. What say you, Sir Blue Knight? Very well retorted. That is but a taste of the knightly knowledge of the Inquisition. Wow! Sir Barnum cut through that baker's witchery like a hot knife through butter! Exemplary! I expected nothing less from the hand of Barnum. Oh, to be able to shake that powerful hand someday. That Inquisitor isn't quite like what he first appeared. Yeah, sure seems that way. Just a moment ago it seemed like he'd never heard of logical debate. Now he's suddenly using it against us? This guy is no joke, that's for sure. Now then, most honourable witnesses, I ask that you lend us your aid once more. I request that you all testify to the court once more. Tell us which occurred first, the dropping of the lantern or the casting of the spell. Fuck, you know what they were going to say. Witness, you may begin your testimony. Tell this court in your own words about the sequence of events which transpired tonight. Great. Of course, the lantern fell to the ground after the incantation of Ignace. Sploosh!
I'm as sure as Snowy is white. I made certain to keep my eyes peeled on that milk bucket after all.
Besides, how can you be sure the lantern just fell because it has a little mud on it?
These eyes do not lie. I saw the lantern in the accurst's hand when the incantation was uttered.
Figures. Their testimonies are all over the place now. These 4 testimonies, they are most interesting. The witnesses all saw the same thing, and yet, people's memories are evidently quite fickle. They can never be a truly reliable source.
Well then, Professor, with enough poking and prodding, I bet we can really cause their testimonies to crumble.
Of course, we need to exploit their fickle memories to turn this thing around.
We've got this, Nick. We'll press them so hard they won't even remember what they had for breakfast.
I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, though. Now, Sir Baker, you may begin your interrogation. All right. Well, you heard what they said. Press them till they can't remember what they had for breakfast.
Hold it!
The lantern fell after the incantation. Are you positive about that? I say, I am positively positive that I am positive. I heard her voice and then sploosh. That sploosh, was it the sound of the lantern hitting the ground? Indeed, but of course, do you see? But if you look at the lantern, you'll notice that the glass is shattered. You specifically said you heard a sploosh. Shouldn't you have heard the sound of glass shattering when it hit the ground? The sound of glass shattering? No, I'm afraid I failed to catch your drift. I was present in an area a bit further away from the crime scene, you see. I have no recollection of hearing such a sound. No recollection, huh? Precisely so. I'll have you know I can easily hear a dog barking across town. Do not underestimate my hearing. I wasn't. Relax, Grandpa. There is nothing of interest in this testimony. Will the next witness with the goat please proceed with her testimony?
Huh? Right. You mean us? You startled us, didn't he, Snowy?
Right.
I'm as sure as Snowy is right.
Alright then. But did you notice something there? But earlier, you stated that Miss Cantabella had the lantern hanging from her wrist.
Well, not quite. We didn't say for certain. We only believed that it was on her wrist.
Believed?
Yes, precisely. You know how you sniff milk when you're not quite sure if it's gone bad? And then your nose is assaulted by that foul odour that you weren't expecting. Well, it's a bit like that.
Heed my words, madam. Do not make a habit of stealing for your own safety.
Oh! Well, we said we're sorry. Please, it's all Snowy's fault.
Oh, brother.
Anyway, we can confidently say that we both saw the milk bucket, right, Precious? And as for the lantern fallen, well, we don't know how much about that, do we now, Schnookums?
Great. Besides, how can you be sure that the lantern just fell just because it has a little mud on it? It's actually a good point, though. What do you mean? Well, maybe the mud was already on the lantern before any of this happened. Did you ever think of that? Before any of this happened? Like, maybe it's been there since last week. It did rain last week too, after all. No, the mud's still wet. Don't be like that. And if that's the case, then there really isn't any point arguing about whether or not she dropped the lantern, right? Indeed. What say you, Defender? No, it's shattered. I say take a closer look at the lantern. You'll notice that there's mud on the glass. Mud on the glass? The lantern wouldn't be very useful with all that mud blocking out the light. Miss Kira, I'd say your little theory regarding this lantern is muddy at best. I could point at witnesses till the cows come home. But that wouldn't turn this testimony into anything I can use. I've got to find a lead somewhere. Yeah. Unfortunately, there. Yeah. Yeah. This is important. Are you sure you really saw that lantern? You are a petty baker, are you not? Is it not your place to be telling me what is important? There is but one thing of importance: ridding this town of its witches as quickly as possible.
Objection.
Hardly. I'd say this is far more important. What? We are trying to find out the truth here. Hey, how absurd! That girl is a witch, I say! A witch! I would stake my entrance into the Knights of the Inquisition on it. Listen well, whelp. Yes, Sir Barnum. Many young men within the ranks of the knighthood share your level of passion. However, you let your ambition completely blind you, the same way that a muddy lantern leaves one blind and helpless in the dark. Wow, this guy. Yes, indeed. I would say he is quite the tough motivator. What do you think, Nick? Did you notice anything fishy? Yeah, possibly. I think there may be something I can use. Really? Wow, I didn't really hear anything special. There was definitely something out of place about that one witness's testimony. It was something I haven't noticed from any of the other witnesses so far. It appears you may have found something, Mr. Wright. A full witness cross-examination. This is something I've never done before. But then, maybe there's another way I should be tackling this. I believe it is worth trusting that intuition, Mr. Wright. Okay, got it. Alright, let's try pressing that old man one more time. Indeed, let's try that. But we'll be trying that in the next episode. For now, we're going to end things off here. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's still very fun. These are long trials, and I really do enjoy it. But hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well, and you'll be back next time to see just what it is that Phoenix is concocting up an idea on. But for now, my name has been Supersonic Blur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and I shall see you all next time.